Clothes carry a part of our vital energy. Left outside at night, they can attract forces we do not understand. Once upon a time, in an ancient African kingdom, there was a belief no one dared to defy. Never leave your clothes outside after nightfall. It was not just a superstition, but a rule dictated by fear. The elders said that a malevolent spirit roamed the darkness, searching for the energy of the living. But instead of attacking directly, it used a trick. It took the clothes left outside. Once worn by this invisible being, the clothes were no longer the same. They became a doorway between the spirit world and the human world. In this kingdom lived Amina, a woman respected and loved by all. She was known for her wisdom and generosity. But like many, she did not fully believe the elders' stories. One evening, after a long day of washing clothes, Amina hung them on a line in her courtyard. At that moment, a messenger arrived. The village chief had called for an urgent meeting. Tired, she left her house in a hurry, completely forgetting about the clothes outside. The meeting lasted all evening. When Amina returned, she was exhausted. Her legs were heavy, her head felt empty. Without thinking, she lay down and fell asleep, completely forgetting what she had left under the night sky. The night was deep. The entire village slept, wrapped in a heavy silence. Then, a faint rustling, barely noticeable. In the darkness, something moved. On the clothesline, Amina's garments slowly lifted, as if an invisible body was slipping into them. The sleeves rose gently. The pants seemed to take shape. The fabric stretched. A rough breath filled the air. The spirit had dressed itself. It took a deep breath and began walking into the night. Amina, deep in sleep, shivered. A heavy weight pressed against her chest, as if something was draining her energy. No one in the village saw the shadow moving between the huts. But at sunrise, everything would change. When the first rays of the sun touched the village, Amina opened her eyes. She felt strangely drained, as if something had stolen a part of her. Her body was heavy, her breathing unsteady. Cold sweat dripped down her forehead. It took her a few moments to remember the night before. Then, suddenly, her eyes landed on the clothesline. Her clothes were there, exactly as she had left them. But something was wrong. The fabric seemed darker, stiffer, as if soaked with an invisible presence. A shiver ran down her spine. "It's just my imagination," she whispered to reassure herself. Refusing to be overcome by fear, she took down her clothes and brought them inside. That day, Amina decided to wear one of the garments she had left outside. As soon as she put it on, a chilling sensation ran down her back. Her skin prickled. Her heart started racing for no reason. Then she heard something, a voice. Faint, distant, almost a whisper. A laugh. She turned around quickly. No one. The day passed, but an unexplainable unease clung to her. She felt watched. Every shadow seemed to move. Every reflection in water or metal showed a distorted image of herself. That night, the nightmares began. Amina saw herself walking through the village, but it was not her. In her dream, she wore her clothes, but her body no longer obeyed her will. Her hands, they were not hers. They were long, twisted like claws. She saw through eyes that were not her own. And in front of her, shadows bowed, whispering in raspy, hissing voices. "You are one of us now." Amina woke up with a gasp, struggling for breath. Her house was shrouded in darkness. But she was not alone. In the corner of the room, a figure stood, dressed in her own clothes. Her own reflection moving on its own. Amina screamed, but no sound came out. The last hope. Terrified, she ran to the village elders. The wise men listened in silence, their faces grave. One of them finally spoke. "You have done what we all feared. You have given the spirit access to your soul." He explained that the clothes had absorbed the energy of the night entity, and by wearing them, Amina had let it inside her. "It is not too late, but you must act quickly." They ordered her to bring the clothes and submit them to a purification ritual. That night, the elders lit a great sacred fire in the center of the village. The clothes were thrown into the flames, and immediately, an inhuman scream tore through the air. The flames turned black, swirling as if something was fighting to escape. Then, a piercing shriek, before the fire suddenly went out. The spirit had been defeated. Amina slowly regained her strength, but she never forgot what she had lived through. Her face now carried the shadow of a trauma no one could understand. From that day on, no one in the kingdom ever dared leave their clothes outside after sunset again. And would you still dare? If you enjoyed the story, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next terrifying tales. And remember, never leave your clothes outside at night. See you soon.